The city of Lakeville has seen tremendous population growth over the past few years. And as the population increases, so does the need for capacity to educate our student population. Time and again through the years, the residents of Lakeville have risen to the call and approved building another school to ensure a quality education for our youth. In this month's History Moment, we take a look back at the development of the Lakeville Area School District. The Lakeville School District officially began in 1878, when the Minnesota legislature established District 100. 22 years later, in 1900, the village of Lakeville built a wood frame building for $500 on the northeast corner of Holyoke Avenue and 206th Street. Then in 1906, the first brick school building was built. It was located on 210th Street east of Holyoke Avenue, where the current district office is today. The school included grades 1 through 10 until 1913, when grades 11 and 12 were added, and the school became an accredited high school. The Lakeville School graduated its first class in 1915, a class of 2. From this graduating class of 2, the school continued to grow. By 1925, the school had 3 high school teachers, 4 elementary teachers, and an enrollment of 150 students. In the 1930s, an additional classroom and gymnasium were added to the building. Richard Frank, a member of the graduating class of 1942, describes the grade configuration in the old school.
All the schoolrooms, there was 2 grades in each schoolroom. There wasn't one, like first and second, third and fourth, and fifth and sixth. And that was, the first 6 grades were on the first floor, and then the rest were on the second floor at the school there. So us first 6th grades, we very seldom got to go upstairs because we were kind of, stay down, boys and girls, you're not allowed up there. And we thought we were something when we finally got in 7th grade.
In 1952, several small rural schools consolidated to form Lakeville Public School District 140. The Orchard Lake School was one of these rural schools. Originally built in 1905, it is the oldest school site still being used to educate children in the Lakeville School District. Enrollment in the Lakeville School District was on the rise in the mid-50s, and a new school was proposed to handle the increase in student population. In 1957, the Lakeville Junior-Senior High School opened for grades 7 through 12. Elementary grades were housed at the Orchard Lake School and the original Lakeville School. Also in 1957, the official name of Independent School District 194, Lakeville Public Schools, was adopted. There were several additions built onto the junior-senior high school throughout the 1960s. Former principal and superintendent Donald McGuire and retired principal Bob Indahar reminisce about how the district utilized the building space.
And years back, when we had basically 3 buildings, there wasn't a lot of change involved for students from one year to the next year. They were familiar with the building, and many of the students spent 7 years in the their elementary building, and then junior, senior high years in this building.
Well, the buildings are pretty much shared because the old red building was a kindergarten building at one time. It housed just the 4th grade at one time.
That's right.
It held other mixtures of grade levels to help overcome the growth that was slowly taking place. In fact, McGuire, I think, housed the 2nd grade at one time, or 1st grade and 6th grade.
That's right. We had, when we put an addition on, and of course we put quite a few additions on. I think we had about five different construction periods here with this building, and we did it in such a way that the cost was not horrendous, and we could make the use of some of the space, like for example in this particular building, as Bob mentioned, we had elementary students in this building a couple of different times because we were able to isolate some areas that gave them kind of their own part of a wing of the building, so that it used space and met the needs of growth and worked out quite well.
In 1965, John F. Kennedy Elementary opened and was named by the students for the recently assassinated president. Due to increasing enrollment and the need for kindergarten classrooms, additions were added to JFK and Orchard Lake in 1969. By the early 1970s, enrollment at the junior-senior high had tripled, and all indicators were showing that current building space was going to be in short supply. So in 1975, a new Lakeville Senior High School opened, and the former junior-senior high was converted to a junior high school for grades 6 through 9. Mary Liz Holberg, class of 1977, describes the new high school.
Well, the building wasn't ready. Again, we got to a point in the community where it was pretty obvious that something had to happen, and that's when the referendum finally passed for the school. So just the construction schedule didn't allow for the building to be done by the time that school started, and rather than delay the whole start of school, the leaders in the community chose to put us on a split shift. The year I was a sophomore, we had a modified split schedule in order to get everybody into the classes, so I think we got done somewhere around 1 o'clock. But the really fun, it wasn't a whole year, only a couple months, was the year that I was a junior, because we had to go on a true split shift where the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders were done by like noon, and then the younger kids, the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, went in the afternoon. However, that didn't last very long because we moved into this building following the Thanksgiving break. I remember the day that they poured the stage in the auditorium, and we were up on the stage messing around. So I have a lot of memories from this building during construction and afterwards. And speaking about the auditorium, that was a big plus for this community. It was the first school that had such a facility, and that was a really nice thing for the community. They're very excited about it. Certainly there have been some changes to this building, but the general decor when we moved in was orange and gold, and was actually quite fashionable for the 70s, but I know that as years went on, it became very dated, and of course there's been updates to this building.
1982 was an historic year for the Lakeville School District. The grade structure of the district changed to K6, 7-9, and 10-12. Christina Huddleston Elementary was built, and on October 26, the junior high was named for Superintendent Donald J. McGuire in recognition of his service to the district. Also in 1982, the old red brick school building held its last class. Engineering reports said the building was not structurally sound and repairs would be too expensive. In 1986, the building was demolished, and at the site, a new district office was built. District enrollment remained steady from the mid-70s to the mid-80s at just over 3,000 students. But this might have been the calm before the storm, as enrollment predictions showed a large growth in the years ahead. During the 1990s, the district was continuously constructing buildings as the city grew and enrollment exploded. 1990, Lake Marion Elementary opened, and the district enrollment was 4,717. In 1992, Cherry View Elementary opened. The district enrollment had increased to 5,757. In 1993, a new high school was built, and the former high school was converted into Kenwood Trail Junior High. In 1994, Lakeview Elementary opened, and the district enrollment had reached 6,783. In 1996, Eastview Elementary opened, and the district enrollment had risen to 7,872. And in 1999, Century Junior High opened as the district's third junior high school, and Oak Hills Elementary opened, and the district enrollment had grown to 9,258. In just 10 years, the district's enrollment had nearly doubled, from 4,700 students to over 9,200 students, and the number of school district buildings had grown from 5 in 1990 to 11 schools in the year 2000. Former Superintendent Carl Wallstrom describes how the district handled the ever-increasing enrollment.
Within the first year or so, year and a half, we were out already with our first bond election in 1986. So about 2 years after my arrival, it was clear that something had to be done in our elementary schools. And so, you know, the first approach to that was to do three things, really. to add on to Christina Huddleston, which had opened in 1982. We also did some renovation and some upgrades at the Orchard Lake School, but then we added our fourth elementary school, Crystal Lake, at that time. So really within a fairly short period of time, it was clear that that trend was going to be there. And I think the thing that's remarkable looking back on it is that it just never stopped. There may have been plateaus along the way within a few months here and there. As a matter of fact, the city from time to time had to declare a moratorium on issuing new permits because they simply needed to get a handle on how fast is this growth going to occur. Over the period of time that I was here and served the district, and that was initially a little over 13 years, and then I was back in 2000, 2001, so almost 14 to 15 years. We had, over that period of time, 7 bond elections to increase space for our students. At the same time, we had 4 different votes for additional monies to operate those schools. So out of that number of years, we were out asking our voters for help 11 of those 14 years, which is, I think, in retrospect, remarkable. I think at the time, at least it didn't seem to me as though it was coming that fast and that often. But the truth of the matter is we were struggling all the time to provide space in advance of the population, to also provide the funds to run those schools. I mean, as we all know, it's one thing to have the space, nice facilities like this building. It's something else to be able to afford to operate them and provide the programs that our community had come to expect.
Although an addition was built onto Lakeville High School in 1998, the school was quickly becoming overcrowded. In 2001, a bond election to build a second high school was defeated. But in 2002, a revised bond election passed to construct a second high school, add on to Oak Hills Elementary, and allocate money for the technology and deferred maintenance. In 2005, Lakeville South Senior High School opened its doors. The old high school was renamed Lakeville North Senior High School, and the Lakeville School District had crossed another historic threshold, moving from a 1 high school to a 2 high school community. Along with the high school name change came a grade configuration change, as they now serve students in grades 9 through 12. The junior highs changed to middle schools serving students in grades 6 through 8. And the elementary schools began serving kindergarten through 5th grades. Over 100 years ago, the small town of Lakeville began providing quality public education in a 1-room schoolhouse. Today, with an enrollment approaching 11,000 students in a fast-growing, thriving suburban community, the Lakeville area public schools are in a great position to continue to offer high-quality public education well into the future.